thyrene dehydration, that is inhibited by amiodarone, and hormone excretion inactivation, that is inducer of the hepatic metabolism enzyme like phenobarbital, rifampicin, carbamazepine. Hormone action is inhibited by the amiodarone, phenytoin, and gut binding is there is increased gut binding by the cholestyramine that inhibits the thyroxine absorption. So this is the classification. Inhibit hormone release synthesis, that by antithyroid drugs. So actually antithyroid drugs means all the drugs which inhibit thyroid hormone production, but classically antithyroid drugs means which inhibit the hormone synthesis by mainly by inhibiting the thyroid peroxidase enzyme. So thyroid peroxidase enzyme, if it is inhibited, then it will inhibit the combination of the oxidized iodine to tyrosine residues, as well as inhibition of the coupling reaction. So drugs involved are propylthiouracil, methimazole, carmimazole. Inhibit the iodine trapping, that is called ionic inhibitors, thiocyanate perchlorate. Inhibit hormone release, iodide, organic iodide, also lithium. But lithium is not used as a drug to as in treatment of the hypothyroidism. That's why it is not mentioned here. So iodine iodides of the sodium and potassium, organic iodide, they are used in treatment of the hyperthyroidism. That's they inhibit the hormone release. And radioactive iodine destroy the thyroid tissue. Radioactive iodine, we can use iodine 131, 125, or 133. So these are the antithyroid drugs. But classically, antithyroid drugs means the drugs which inhibit the thyroid peroxidase enzyme, and they bind to the thyroid peroxidase and prevent the oxidation of the iodotyrosyl residue, inhibit the iodination of the tyrosine residue in thyroglobulin. So this is the major function of the antithyroid drugs. They inhibit the iodination of the tyrosine residue, and they inhibit the coupling of the iodotyrosine residue to form T3 and T4. So propylthiouracil and carbimazole. Remember these two drugs. Propylthiouracil also inhibits. Additionally, it inhibits the peripheral conversion of the T4 to T3. Okay. So if question comes, mechanism of action of the carbimazole or methimazole, then you have to answer these first two steps: inhibit the iodination of the tyrosine residue and inhibit the coupling of the iodotyrosine residue to form T3, T4. But propylthiouracil, if question comes, then it has this third action, that is inhibition of the peripheral conversion of the T4 to T3. That thus in hyperthyroid state, propylthiouracil, thyrotoxic state, propylthiouracil is more useful than the carmimazole because it inhibits the T4 to T3 conversion, which is the active form. So active form is less generated. Salts antithyroid drugs are quickly absorbed orally, and it is widely distributed in the body. Enter milk and cross placenta, and intrathyroid T-half is longer. Carmimazole acts largely by getting converted into methimazole in the body. So carmimazole is actually prodrug, but it is active. But methimazole is more active form. So carmimazole is converted to methimazole, which is more active form. So this is the difference of the propylthiouracil and carmimazole. This is often asked in the Viva. So dose to dose, it is less potent is propylthiouracil. That's why more dosing is important. Highly plasminogen bound carmimazole. So it is carmimazole is less plasminogen bound. Propylthiouracil is more plasminogen bound, but carmimazole is more potent. That's why dosing is less. And also plasma T-half is long for the carmimazole. That's why it can be given once or twice daily. But propylthiouracil need to be given 4 times daily at least, because half life is less, 1 to 2 hours, and it is less transferred across placenta and milk. And carmimazole, it is more transferred. That's why in first trimester pregnancy, propylthiouracil is advised if we give antithyroid drugs in pregnancy, because carmimazole is more released from the placenta, more transferred via the placenta. Okay. So what are the basic difference? Propylthiouracil short acting, dose to dose less potent. That's why it needs more dosing. But in pregnancy, first trimester, it is more safe. And also in hyperthyroid state, when there is thyrotoxicosis state, propylthiouracil is more useful because it has additional action of inhibiting T4 to T3 conversion. Propylthiouracil has no active metabolite, but carmimazole has active metabolite, whether it's methimazole. And multiple daily doses are needed for the propylthiouracil. Carmimazole mostly single dose. Okay. So adverse effects. So hypothyroidism and goiter, that can occur because if it is overdosed, then as it inhibits the thyroid hormone release or synthesis, hypothyroidism and goiter can happen due to overtreatment, but it is reversible on stopping the drug. Indicated by the enlargement of the thyroid. So how we can see understand that actually thyroid hormone is getting less, produced less, but if we can see the enlargement of the gland, because T4 T3, if it is less formed, then there is feedback signal is sent to the anterior pituitary, and there is more synthesis of the TSH, and this excess TSH tries to increase the size of the gland. Also, there is some skin rashes, joint pain, but liver damage is there, though it is rare, but we have to check the liver function status. There can be loss of hair, loss of taste, and rarely it can cause agranulocytosis. It is serious adverse effect. 1 in 500 to 1000 cases it is happens. So of course, if we start carbimazole or propylthiouracil, liver function test as well as total count, differential count, that should be monitored routinely. Uses as definitive therapy, control thyrotoxicity in both Graves' disease as toxinodular goiter. So Graves' disease, you know that it is a hyperthyroid state when there is more generation of the T4 and T3, and also toxinodular goiter. So Graves' disease, there is uniform enlargement of the thyroid gland and there is more generation of the T4, T3. But in toxinodular goiter, some part of the thyroid glands get has some nodules which is more active and that generate T4 and T3. In both the cases, there is hyperthyroidism and we have to use this antithyroid drug. Clinical improvement starts after 1 to 2 weeks, and propylthiouracil may be preferred in thyroid storm. So thyroid toxicosis or thyroid storm, when there is excess generation of the thyroid gland, and then we have to excess generation of thyroxine, then we have to suppress the T3 activity by propylthiouracil. Okay, for its inhibitory action on the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. Remissions are rare in toxinodular goiter. Surgery is referred. So apart from this, so hyperthyroidism has 3 treatments. One is antithyroid drugs, one is radioiodine therapy, one is surgical therapy. Depending on the patient's status or patient preference, we have to select the therapy. So normally, remember, radioiodine therapy is that is contraindicated in pregnancy, but it is more useful in the in the young non-pregnant persons, whereas antithyroid drugs are more useful in the elderly persons, and surgery is required when there is obstructive symptoms like dysphagia, respiratory distress. Preoperatively, so when we are thinking about operation or when we are thinking about radioiodine therapy also, you should remember that maintaining the euthyroid state. So I have mentioned hypothyroid state when gland generates less thyroxine hormone, hyperthyroid state when gland thyroid generates more thyroxine hormone. There is euthyroid when there is status is normal. That means T4 T3 generation is normal. Then we call it euthyroid state, euthyroid. Okay, euthyroid state. So maintaining euthyroid status before, during operation and also before radioiodine therapy is must. So before, so that's why young patients of florid hyperthyroidism are rendered euthyroid with carbimazole before performing subtotal thyroidectomy. So unless we make the patient euthyroid before surgery, then during surgery, during cutting of the thyroid gland, there is excess release of the thyroid hormone which can precipitate thyroid storm. That's why euthyroid status maintaining is very important, and that's why even if we are planning surgery or radioiodine therapy, we have to make the TSH status normal to make the patient euthyroid. Okay. Along with 131 iodine also, initial control with antithyroid drugs is essential. 1 to 2 weeks gap is maintained, and then we give radioiodine dosing and resume antithyroid drugs after 5 to 7 days, and gradually withdraw over 3 months as the response to 131 iodine develops. So iodine 131 that is used in treatment of the hyperthyroidism, even if we give that, maintaining euthyroid state before or after radioiodine therapy is must for few days, because radioiodine, once it is given, that takes some times, some weeks to develop their action. So during that period, so that thyroid storm is not precipitated, we have to give antithyroid drugs for few weeks. So advantage of antithyroid drugs over surgery. So there is no surgical risk. Hypothyroidism is reversible and can be used in children or young adults also. But disadvantage is prolonged therapy, non-practicable in uncooperative patient. Toxicity. So ionic inhibitors, that is thiocyanate, perchlorate, they certain monoamine, they inhibit the iodine trapping by thyroid, probably because of this similar hydrated ionic status. T4 T3 cannot be synthesized. Thiocyanate also inhibits the iodination at high doses. Their relative inhibitory potency is thiocyanate 1:10 perchlorate 10. So thiocyanate is more potent, and that inhibits the iodination at high doses. Sorry, thiocyanate is less potent. Perchlorate, so perchlorate potency is more, 10. Okay, so thiocyanate need to be given in high dose, perchlorate need to be given can be given in small doses, but that is not used actually. So iodine and iodides, that are commonly used. The more important action is inhibition of the hormone release, and often we call it thyroid constipation. So if we remember the Wolff-Chaikoff effect, then we can understand how thyroid iodide though helps in the treatment of the hyperthyroidism. So iodide, if it is given in excess, then further release of the iodine release of the hormone, stored hormone into the circulation is less. Okay, so endocytosis of the colloid and proteolysis of the thyroglobulin is stopped, and excess iodide inhibits its own transport in the thyroid cells. Okay, so when excess body iodide is there, that inhibits its own transport. So remember once again, blood contains iodine, thyroid contains iodine, but blood iodine content is less and iodine content in thyroid is more. So when blood iodine content is less, then sodium iodide sympathor present in the thyroid gland is more active, and that extracts more iodide from the blood. But when iodide stored in the blood is more, then this sodium iodide sympathor is less active. Thus, when iodide is given in excess, that excess iodide inhibits its own transport in thyroid cells. So sodium iodide sympathor becomes less active if we give excess iodine. Thus, so thyroid do not extract iodide more, and thus ultimately there is less generation of the thyroid hormone, and also there is less release. Okay, so that may alter the redox potential of the cell, thus interfering with the iodination, that reduce the T3T4 synthesis. When we use glucose iodine comes as short note. So mechanism of action is same like iodide. So it is actually 5% iodine in 10% potassium iodide solution, and it is used also in treatment of the thyroid storm when we want less thyroid hormone is released into the circulation. So also iodide is used in preoperative preparation of the thyroidectomy, and it makes the gland firm, less vascular, easier to operate on. Also used in treatment of the thyroid storm. Glucose iodine 6 to 10 drops or iodine containing a radio contrast media like ipanoic or ipodate orally are used to stop any further release of the T3T4 from the thyroid. So thyroid storm, it's a hyperthyroid state. We have to maintain the euthyroid status as early as possible by giving this antithyroid drug as well as glucose iodine, so that thyroid hormone is not released too much. And also during preparation of the surgery to the patients, we have to maintain the euthyroid state, and we have to decrease the release of the stored thyroid hormones. Then we have to decrease the release. We can use the radioiodine. Okay, we can use this iodide. Adverse effects, it can cause iodism. So there are the symptoms. There is inflammation of the mucous membrane, lacrimation, salivation, swelling of the eyelids, etc. Thrombocytopenia, lymphadenopathy, etc. Next, that is more important, radioactive iodine. That is more commonly asked question in the theory as well as viva. So we have mentioned antithyroid drugs, we have mentioned the iodide, but radioactive iodine is, the stable isotope of iodine is 127. Its radioactive isotopes are medicinal importance. That is, we can use 131I, that is physical half-life is 8 days, most commonly used in medicine, but 123I is half-life 30 hours, only rarely used diagnostically. So often radioactive iodine has two use. One is used in treatment, one is used in diagnosis. So iodine, we know that it is uptaken by the thyroid gland from the blood, and there are some cases when patients having hyperthyroid symptoms, like patient having heat intolerance, patient having tremor, diarrhea, sweating, etc. But that can be due to hyperthyroidism as well as can be due to some thyroiditis. The thyroiditis means some inflammation of the thyroid gland which temporarily increase the thyroid hormone release. But we cannot give, we have to differentiate the thyroiditis from the hyperthyroidism or Graves' disease actually. So how we can diagnose it? We have to do thyroid scan, that is done by radioiodine, that is 123, that is iodine scan. In thyroiditis state, in inflammation, thyroid uptake is less. So in thyroiditis, radioiodine uptake is less, but in Graves' disease there is uniformly increased uptake. So if there is low uptake, we diagnose this case as thyroiditis, then antithyroid drug is actually not needed. Okay, often it is self-limiting and we can just treat the symptoms. But if it is Graves' disease, if there is increased uptake, and then we have to give antithyroid drug. So that's why to check whether antithyroid drug is needed or not, we have to do this iodine scan of the thyroid, and then radioiodine 123 is used, okay, which has a less half-life. But for treatment purpose, 131I is used. So remember this difference. 123 is primarily gamma emitter used for the thyroid imaging, that means thyroid scanning. In contrast, 131I emits both gamma and beta rays, gamma rays and beta particles, and used in treatment of the hyperthyroidism because Graves' disease, because they actually destroy the thyroid gland. So 131I emits the X-rays as well as beta particles. The former are useful in the tracer studies monitored by a counter. It is concentrated by the thyroid. So just like sodium iodide symphoter concentrates the iodide, 131I is also concentrated by thyroid. They incorporate into colloid, and after that they emit the beta radiation, beta particle within the follicles, which destroys the glands. So follicular cells undergo pycnosis and necrosis followed by fibrosis, but there is no damage to the neighboring tissues. So as other neighboring tissues cannot concentrate iodide, so there is no further damage of the tissues. That's why it is very safe, but it will cause permanent fibrosis and necrosis of the gland. That's why after the radioiodine therapy we have to we need to give antithyroid drugs for few days, because radioiodine therapy do not start its function effect, do not manifest its effect from the very beginning. So to maintain the to prevent the hyperthyroid state, antithyroid drug is given, but after that it is also withdrawn. And when permanent hypothyroidism actually develops, because gland is absent now, then patient will be put on T4 T3 therapy for the rest of the life, because thyroid gland is absent now, no T4 T3 is generated, so we have to give T4 from the outside so that body can have normal function of the thyroxine. It is used as sodium salt of 131 dissolved in the water taken orally. Okay. So diagnostic purpose, dose is less, 25 to 100 microcurie is given. In therapeutic purpose, dose is 3 to 6 millicurie, and calculated on the basis of the previous tracer study and thyroid size. So depending on the previous tracer study, how much the gland is taking the iodide, as well as depending on the gland weight, then we can adjust the radioiodine dose. So higher doses are generally required for the toxic multinodular goiter than for Graves' disease. Response starts after 2 weeks, peak at 3 months. So after 3 months, generally patients are made hypothyroid. From hyperthyroid state, as gland is destroyed because of this beta particle effect, there is permanent hypothyroidism in the patient. But before that, often there is some sparks in thyroid hormone release, and that we can decrease by giving antithyroid drugs. But after 3 months, patient will be put on T4 supplement to maintain the euthyroid states. Otherwise, patient will become hypothyroid. Okay. So thyroid status is evaluated after 3 months, and a repeat dose if needed is given. So if after 3 months patient remains hyperthyroid, then a repeat dose of radioiodine can be given. So advantage, treatment of 131 is simple, conveniently given. There is oral therapy, so it can be given on outpatient basis and inexpensive. There is no surgical risk, scar or injury to parathyroid recurrent laryngeal nerves. This is a risk factor for surgery. So once hypothyroidism is controlled, cure is permanent. But disadvantage, it is hypothyroidism happens. So and there is often 3 months therapy, 3 months time need to be given to control the disease, and it is contraindicated during pregnancy, may result in cretinism, and not suitable for the young patients. They are more likely to develop hypothyroidism and would then require the lifelong T4 treatment. So 131I is the treatment of choice after 25 years of age, and if heart failure, angina or other contraindication to surgery. So often some patients surgery is not possible because of the poor cardiac status, then radioiodine therapy is very good option for them. Metastatic, apart from this hyperthyroidism, apart from this Graves' disease and toxinodular goiter, also it can be used in metastatic carcinoma of the thyroid, especially papillary or follicular carcinoma of thyroid, but here their dose is much increased. So before finishing, thyroid storm and myxedema coma we have to discuss. Thyroid storm is an emergency due to decompensated hyperthyroidism. So there is excess series of thyroid in the body. There is non-selective beta blockers, and the most valuable measure afford dramatic symptomatic relief. They reduce the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. So here propranolol is a very good drug because it is a beta blocker. It will reduce the tachycardia which is present in the hyperthyroid state. It will decrease the tremor also, and also they reduce the peripheral conversion of the T4 to T3. Propranolol can be given IV or oral every 6 hours, and if along with that we have to give propylthyroxine. We prefer propylthyroxine here over carmimazole because it has additional action of T4 to T3 conversion inhibition, or it inhibits the T4 to T3 conversion as well as inhibit the thyroid peroxidase enzyme, and it to be given in higher dose, 200 to 300 milligram every 6 hours. Okay, it reduces hormone synthesis as well as peripheral T4 to T3 conversion is also inhibited. Next, we can give iodine, iopanoic acid. They are potent inhibitor of thyroid hormone release from thyroid. So we have to give beta blocker, we have to give propylthyrosol, we have to give iodide, and we can give diltiazem if palpitation or tremor is not controlled. Okay. Myxedema, progressive mental deterioration. So here we have discussed thyroid storm, that is thyrotoxic crisis, and additional drug we can give diltiazem, and additional drug we can give hydrocortisone, that is the corticosteroid, that will also decrease the T4 to T3 conversion. So these are the options for the thyroid storm. And myxedema, progressive mental deterioration is there. There is extreme hypothyroid state. It is due to acute hypothyroidism. It carries significant mortality. Drug of choice is here we have to supplement the levothyroxine as early as possible, 200 to 500 microgram IV followed by 100 microgram IV OD till oral therapies can be instituted. But often we can give therapy by Ryle's tube because patient is often unconscious. So Ryle's tube therapy we can give levothyroxine by Ryle's tube also, but dose is higher, 500 microgram initially followed by 100 microgram daily. So alternately, Ryle's tube T4 500 microgram loading dose followed by 100 to 300 microgram daily can be used. So IV T4 is not available commonly. That's why Ryle's tube T4 T4 by Ryle's tube we commonly practice. So corticosteroid is also used here to cover attendant adrenal insufficiency, ventilatory and cardiovascular support. Here also hydrocortisone is given because it has been found that often there is adrenal insufficiency, and this adrenal insufficiency causes hypothyroidism. And if we cannot make the adrenal glands normally functioning by giving corticosteroid, often there is precipitation of adrenal insufficiency, and patient can there is delay in the development of the normal function of the patient. So corticosteroid is used so that adrenal insufficiency is not there and patient can recover from the hypothyroid state rapidly. We have to correct the hyponatremia and hypoglycemia which is present in the myxedema. So mainly therapy is done with the T4 by oral. In rare cases when there is available, T3 can be used, but once again monitoring T3 therapy is difficult because often there is risk of arrhythmia generation due to excess T3. That's why T4 therapy is used. Okay. So corticosteroid help to tide over crisis, cover any adrenal insufficiency and inhibit conversion of the T4 to T3 in the periphery. Okay. Actually these slides are interchanged. So diltiazem that can be used in treatment of the hyperthyroidism. Okay. So diltiazem used in treatment of hyperthyroidism. Corticosteroid also can be used in treatment of hyperthyroidism because of T4 to T3 conversion is inhibited. So corticosteroid here is used for both the purpose, hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Reason is different. In hyperthyroid state, it is used in treatment because it prevents the conversion of T4 to T3. But in hypothyroid state, it is used to prevent to treat the adrenal insufficiency. Okay. So these are the antithyroid drugs. I'm stopping here. There is some quiz. You have to submit the answers after seeing the video. If any query, you can ask me directly.